So some interesting comments this week emerging from Square Enix about the nature of the third and final part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. There have been suggestions from certain players, I'm not sure who they are, that it's been developed primarily with Xbox Series S and Switch 2 in mind. I'm just reading the report here on Video Games Chronicle. Rather than developing primarily for Sony's consoles and optimizing at a later date, and it could mean that the overall game could be compromised to run better on those lower-end systems. And we've got a comment here from Naoki Hamaguchi saying that they will not in any way lower the quality of the third installment of the game, adding, our development structure simply doesn't work that way to begin with. I suppose I'll just have to keep saying it. Yeah, and so he's basically would like to take this opportunity to explain in detail why there's no need for concern. And basically, well, he's going through the individual components that could cause potential bottlenecks for each individual system, whether it's the Xbox Series X RAM, Switch 2 doesn't seem to think that RAM is an issue. Team's philosophy in terms of CPU is basically that if a game runs at 30 FPS on Switch 2 or Series S, it should be able to hit 60 frames per second on a higher end platform. And the quote here, in other words, we don't design the game to fully saturate a high-end CPU at 30 FPS. It seems like the lead platform is the PC version, which kind of makes sense in a way because it's the version that's got to be most scalable. It's got all of the knobs that need to be tweaked and twiddled with in order to accommodate a vast range of potential hardware combinations. And, well, it's all just sort of kind of makes sense, really, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense here. And I think this is just going to be a continuation of the work they did on Rebirth anyway. And that makes the most sense because they need to get this game done, right? It's this trilogy. It's been going on a while. It's clearly a large money sink. They're not going to invest a crazy amount in like redoing anything this time. It's just a continuation of what they've done before. And I think what we've seen with Rebirth, or I guess it hasn't actually shipped yet on Switch 2 and the like, right? But it will. I think that will essentially reveal what we're going to see for the third part as well. And it makes sense to sort of target all of these machines because I think they really realize like, yeah, we need this to be a big hit. As much it has perhaps not reached expectations as I understand, but Square, you know what they say about Square Enix's expectations.
They never do.
They never do. But I mean, I like what he's saying. I also like his description about the Switch 2 game key card stuff. And this matches what I've heard from other developers where he's basically like, yeah, we couldn't actually crunch this down to work on one of the key cards because it's much slower. It's like half the speed or less. So even if they were able to get the file size down, which I somehow doubt, because you know how big these UE4 games tend to be, and the previous two were very large, the actual data access speed on the actual game card is indeed a lot slower than the onboard storage, which can create problems for games that need to read into storage a lot. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of interesting there. It's all very logical. It makes perfect sense. It's like, hey, if we can do 30 FPS on this, of course we can do 60 on the bigger CPU. And we're not going to saturate that CPU for, they're making, to me, it just sounds like logical and good choices. And I'm happy to hear him just say it out loud, basically.
Yeah, there was also this comment that caught my eye. PS5 and PS5 Pro categorized as mid-range platforms. Compared to high-end PCs, texture sizes may differ by roughly 1.5 to 2 times, mesh loading by 1.5 to 2 times, and polygon counts by more than 3 times. That's how big the difference can be. I guess, Alex, that won't even include stuff that the PCs can do, higher end, like path tracing and whatnot.
Yeah, I was kind of fascinated by this because usually you don't see game directors talking about technical specifications to this degree of specificity at all. And I had to look up the person, and they worked on visual effects and real-time rendering for Final Fantasy 12, lead cutscene programmer under Crystal Tools for 13, and a lot of programming, main programmer on Lightning Returns, etc. They are a technical person, and I absolutely love when the directors of games have like the technical underpinnings of their engines like in their minds while they're developing. And this makes me way more excited for the third game, actually, knowing that they're at the helm. I do hope, though, that if while they're bringing this to multi, there's going to be scaling it across all the platforms. I don't actually have any doubt at this point. It seems like since now that we're going to be getting Rebirth on the Switch 2, things are looking very interesting there. I just hope that they also scale it up a little higher than the previous one, just because I feel like lighting is the one aspect of the game that, in the transition from the first to the second one, due to the scope being larger, that the lighting took a hit. Necessarily so if they're using, like stuff just like baked out lighting for different areas over a large scale. It doesn't really work out usually without ballooning file size, which is why it is so low fidelity. But I feel like if they did want to offer that PS5 Pro, the PS5, or the higher end PC an option to do a real-time lighting technique that increases the fidelity of those areas, I would be so happy. And if they, Switch 2 and Series S don't get it, that's fine, right? But I would really like to see them, if they are going to be scaling the PC with lead, I would love for them to push that up there, because I still kind of go back to Final Fantasy 15, a game that I don't always like so much, but I was kind of enamored that it did have such a PC first mentality for that platform when it did come out, that version of the game. And they were embracing like a lot of new technology at the time. I would love to see that return for the third Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy entry.
I think my main issue with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is just there's a kind of lack of consistency in the quality of textures and geometry. It kind of looks quite jarring to my eye in many, many regards. That's kind of like something that I do hope that they address. I don't know whether it's some sort of structural Unreal Engine 4 issue, however. I'm not sure about that, surely not. But it's good to see we do actually have some like proper confirmation on how they're actually going to be doing this, and it all kind of makes sense, really, doesn't it?
I just hope they can finish off the story in a good way, because Rebirth is a bit much. The end of that goes into places where you're just kind of like, oh boy, it's like there's some Kingdom Hearts in here. kind of it's a bit much. So yeah, and honestly the game itself, it's amazing they were able to make Rebirth at the scale they did, but it's bordering on too much game. There's so much there. It is gigantic, but still it was very well made, and I really hope they can find a way to finish this off in a way that's satisfying. We'll see.